Hello, everybody. We are here live once again. The third Habs preseason game just wrapped up, and I'm here to recap it as I'm going to do for the rest of the season, or at least I hope for the rest of the season. We're going to get right into it. The Habs looked great in this game. The Habs netted 5 goals. It was a 5-4 effort in shootout. We're going to run down the entire game, or not the entire game, play by play, but we're going to run it down with the notes that I took. Of course, the game summary. The score opened a minute 2 in with Jordan Weal. Jordan Weal looked very, very good this game. I think he is going to turn out to be a very, very good player this season. I don't think he's going to be netting 80 points or anything, but I think he'll be quite the good player for us this year. The Habs looked great early on. They got lots of shots on net. I believe the total shot counter was something like 48-18 or something like that. So overall, Price didn't look amazing, but we'll get into that in just a moment. But the Habs overall looked really, really good. And speaking of good, Sam Montembeault for the Florida Panthers looked amazing in this game. Only allowing technically 7 goals. If you include the 3 straight in a shootout, but they don't. 5 straight, 5 goals allowed. It was 49 shots, I want to say. He saved 44 of those technically. That's a really, really good effort by Sam Montembeault, and I think he could really challenge Bobrovsky, not for straight up starter shot, but I think he could definitely take some starts away from Bobrovsky if he keeps playing the way he played tonight. Sadly, in a loss for Panthers fans, of course, great if you're a Habs fan for the win. But Montembeault looked amazing out there, and I think Florida really has someone good out there with them this year, with a starter and their backup. The first goal allowed on Price was very, very bad timing. It was a very poor execution by the March he played tonight. I really don't think he's going to be all that useful if the Habs are to call him up this year. I think give him another year or two and then call him up. I understand it's just one mistake, but still. Looking back, it's not the greatest of things to do, trying to pass right to, I believe it was Gallagher with him. Or no, I think it was Xavier Ouellet with him, actually. It's not exactly the best to pass there when there's 2 Panthers coming in. They steal it away and they score immediately on Price, which was then followed up by no more scoring in the first. The final shot counter, I want to say, at the end of the period was 19-7, I think. But in the second, the Panthers come out sort of strong. They scored 2 quick goals on Carey Price. The first one, or both of them, Price really should have had those, arguably. But I would argue the second one, Price definitely should have had. The third goal, technically. The second goal that was allowed in the game for Price, that was just a really, really good snipe by, I want to say it was Owen Tippett. Owen Tippett from Ale, I believe. I forget who exactly it was, but that was a pretty good snipe by Owen Tippett. And it gave the Panthers 2-1 lead, which then transferred into a 3-1 lead. But then I want to say it was Brett Kulak. No, Brendan Gallagher scored first to make it a 3-2 game with a very, very nice looking goal. I want to say that was Domian Lettinen assisting on that first Gallagher goal. That looked quite well, if you ask me personally. Brendan Gallagher had a great game. He scored another goal later in the game, but Brendan Gallagher with that first goal, and then Brett Kulak with a very, very good goal later in the period to tie the game up. I forget if it was a slapper or if it was a wrist shot. I want to say it was a wrist shot, but either way, Brett Kulak, he's not looking too bad. I think he could definitely be in the top 4 role this year, possibly if Sherratt or Petrie get injured, but I think he will be bottom 2 for the majority of the year. I would definitely think he nabs a few goals in there, and I think he could be a good setup man in a way. And then Brendan Gallagher, I mentioned last night about Matthew Pekka possibly being a new Gallagher with the cheeky goals. Gallagher with arguably the cheekiest of goals tonight. Just standing in front of the net, gets the tip in, brings the Habs to a 4-3 victory, 4-3 lead, which, of course, any goal is a good goal, but or no, that's actually any goal that you can get without it being called back is a good goal, I'll say. So Gallagher with a pair of goals, he looked really, really good. The comeback from 3-1 to 4-3 in the second. Oh, the second Gallagher goal came out, I want to say, a minute or two after the Kulak goal, by the way. But the comeback from 3-1 to 4-3 in the second showed it had a great show of will by the Habs in there. They didn't panic when they were down 3-1. They just resuscitated the situation. My dad actually called for Price to be pulled, which thankfully he wasn't, because it would have meant Kincaid had to go in. Probably would have been a 5-3 game, I would think so, even though Kincaid is a good goaltender, I find. Thankfully, we did leave Price in. But I think the comeback really showed that the Habs are serious. Even though this is only preseason, the Habs are serious about going far in the season. They want to make the playoffs this year. And I got to mention, Letton, Domi, and Gallagher worked incredibly well tonight. I could see that possibly being our first, if not second line, if you don't want to have Letton in on your first line. But, I mean, given how Tatar, Danault, and someone else is probably going to be the first line, I highly doubt it's going to be Drouin personally. Drouin's probably going to be third, maybe most likely fourth line. But Letton, Domi, and Gallagher is your second line. That's definitely a really, really good line, and I think it'd really work magic if they keep those guys together. Suzuki looked very, very good with several shots on goal. He looked hungry for a goal, because I don't think he scored last game, if I remember correctly. Suzuki was looking great. Actually, no, he did score. He scored the first goal in the shootout, actually, so he was looking hungry. I wrote these notes as the game went along, by the way, but Suzuki looked very hungry with several shots on goal. Finally ended up scoring the first goal in the shootout, so tech sadly doesn't count. It doesn't count either way since it's preseason, but Suzuki finally scoring his goal. Varone, Thompson, Weiss, I put this isn't a great line at all, and it really wasn't. Varone, Thompson, I like Nate Thompson. I don't like Dale Weiss. The $2 million cap hit for him is just, I really don't care for it. Thompson, though, him waiving his no trade clause to come to Montreal, I was just pointing out in commentary. I actually didn't get that. I didn't realize he waived a no trade clause to come here. Thompson, I think, is really, really not really, really good, but he's a good player. He definitely has that edge to him where it's just like, all right, yeah, I want to be here. I want to stay on this lineup. And I think tonight he was the shining star of all three on that line, even though Varone did get the game winner pretty much, technically. It was still pretty good. It was still Thompson did good. Weiss was very bad. He took a penalty for a charging call, which I absolutely agree with. Weiss jumping to hit, I forget who the Panther he hit was, but I agree that should have been a penalty, and I'm glad it was. But Varone didn't look great at all in the game, and I actually wrote Varone not looking good out there near the end of the game, so naturally he gets the game winner in a shootout. You can't make those things up. Of course, the guy I talked the most shit about in the game, he gets the game winner. That's good, I guess. We won either way. Brazil also looking very great. Pairing him with Suzuki, I think, would be very, very interesting in the regular season. I think if you were to combine a line of Paling, Suzuki, Brazil, they're probably not going to do that. They're probably not going to do that because I think all three of them are centers, actually. But if they were to do that, I think that would be very, very good chemistry together. Personally, there was a comment posed to Sergio Momesso by the other commentator tonight. I forget his name. There was a question posed. It was, do you see both of these guys, one of these guys, or none of these guys? I'm referring to Suzuki and Paling. Do they get called up? I think both of them get called up. It would definitely help with center depth. You have Danault, Domi, and then you would have technically you also have Thompson, but if you're going very young, you have Danault, Domi, Suzuki, and Paling, which is and Koki and Nemi. So you have very, very good depth at center, which was the issue 2 years ago. We fixed it last year with Domi and Kokianemi, and we're fixing it more with Suzuki and Paling. So that's great, especially because if Danault ends up leaving or Domi or Kokianemi gets offer sheeted next year by Carolina, which he won't, I think it would be great to have such great center depth that we have too much of it. You can never have enough depth players to play in the minors and build themselves for another year, I think. The Habs PK was not looking too hot. They allowed one goal, which was the 4-4 tie. I want to say it came with about 8 minutes left in the game. Sadly, no shorthanded goal tonight for the Habs, though they have three. They have 3 in 2 games. So technically, there's still a shorthanded goal per game at this point. But the Habs, once we got to OT, and there was a great chance late in the third for the Habs to score the game winner in the third. Sadly, they weren't able to score late in the third and give them the edge to win. But it doesn't matter because the Habs dominated overtime. The first minute or so was kind of slow, just getting used to everything, getting used to having a 3-on-3 overtime again. Because it's probably been a couple months since all of these guys have played 3-on-3. But once the Habs got it going, they just stayed in the Panther zone for the final 3 minutes. They kept that first line out there easily, I want to say, the whole time. I want to say it was the first line. It was Trocheck and them. So I'm pretty sure it was the first line. But Sam Montembeault, he saved this game for the Panthers in overtime. If it was Bobrovsky in net, I would argue this game would have been over on one of the first shots of overtime. It probably would end in regulation, honestly. Just because Bobrovsky is probably just like, yeah, all right, cool, preseason warming up and whatever. He would have allowed a couple goals that he usually wouldn't, I think. But yeah, the Habs dominating overtime. They had great changes out there. They had line changes at the right time. They had some great shots, but like I mentioned, Montembeault was there for the saves. If the Habs were to go after a better backup than Keith Kincaid, Sam Montembeault is the guy to go after, in my opinion, at least. Him or Mackenzie Blackwood. I was really impressed by Mackenzie Blackwood from what I saw of him last year. And Sam Montembeault, just from tonight, and I believe I saw him a couple times last year as well. They are both very, very good backups. So Sam Montembeault, if the Habs were to trade for him, and possibly one of the Panthers prospects, or possibly I almost said Ollie Ekman-Larsson. He's in Florida. He's in Arizona. Phoenix, excuse me. Or one of their depth pieces or a defenseman along with Sam Montembeault, I think that would be a great thing to go for. And then, of course, once we got to the shootout, because there was no goal in overtime, Suzuki scores in the first shot. I want to say it was Vinny Trocheck, who I really like Vinny Trocheck. He scored. Weal scored. I forget who missed for the Panthers, but of course, Phil Varone scores to give the Habs the 3-1 lead in the shootout, and of course the win. So they technically win 7-4, but really it's 5-4 in a shootout. Habs go 3-0-0 in the preseason thus far. Technically it's 2-0-1-0 if you're going by, I believe, NHL 07 rules. But yeah, so we are going to the Habs are going 3-0 so far. They're undefeated right now in the preseason. Obviously, they're not going to go 7-0-0, and obviously they're not going to go 82-0-0 in the regular season. But right now, I'm very impressed by what the Habs are showing off. They have great prospects in their system. Sadly, Jake Evans was not playing tonight. That's probably the reason we didn't score a shorthanded goal. But yeah, the Habs going 3-0-0. I think we're going to be really, really impressive this year. The stakes are, of course, risen. The stakes have, of course, risen because we were 2 points out of a playoff spot last year. Which, of course, means we would have swept Tampa and then gotten swept by Boston. Not exactly sure it's the best of cases to end the playoffs for the Habs. Who am I kidding? The Habs would have swept the Bruins anyways. The Bruins suck. But yeah, so that's going to do it, guys. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, favorite channel, everything which includes Buzz, and limited to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My mouth is really, really dry right now, so let me do that again. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, favorite channel, everything which includes but not limited to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and everything else. My name is Harry Rice. Follow me on Twitter. My Twitch, my Amazon, and my Letterboxd are all in the description below. My name is Harry Rice, and I am out. Peace.